Yeah, one, two, three into the four. It's the Ronnie Vegas podcast with your boy the Joy coming at the dope. Yeah.
Oh man, thought it would be your boy the Joe. I guess that would make any
Hey
sense.
Snoop! What's going on, everybody? Ronnie Vegas podcast, episode 5. That's right. I am Ronnie Vegas. With me today, as always, is
Your boy the Joy. How's it going, people?
it's going, and we have a special guest today. Say hi to Eliza Winfrey. Say hi, Eliza.
Hello.
Writer, director, has some movies coming out, has a movie coming on, another movie coming in. It's so much going on with him. Podcast, radio DJ. Well, we'll get to him. How you been, DeJoy? How you been?
I have been good. You know, I've been very solid. I'm really excited for today's episode. I think it's going to be a good one.
I think it's going to be real good.
I really
We're
enjoy
excited
it.
to talk to Eliza.
Absolutely.
Eliza, you excited? You excited to be here?
Oh, heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys. So
Can you feel the hype?
I certainly can't. That music got me going.
It gets
That
you
music got me
going every time. That's why Ronnie picked it as the intro. That's what it's for.
Well, actually, I picked it because
It's called
I own
intro.
the copyrights to it, so they can't sue
Very
us or
easy.
anything.
It was a
on- they
business
can't-
decision.
It was a
Yeah,
business
they
decision.
can't flag our stuff.
It just so
Yeah,
happens to
speaking
be
of-
a banger.
It's a thing. Speaking of copyrights, our sponsor for yet again another episode, and I talked to the owners. They are on board for good. Exotica Dispensary, Route 37, Akwesasne. They have your premium flowers, your dabs, your nano-infused drinks, coffee, slushies. They also have killer edibles. And today, I am smoking some of their Blueberry OG.
Blueberry OG. Sounds delicious. I love blueberries. One of my favorite fruits, but that's not important whatsoever. How are you
But
doing?
yeah,
I didn't
Blueberry
ask you how you were doing. How are you doing, Ronnie?
Blueberry OG, I'm doing great. I am doing great. Smoked this all day today at work. Thanks again to Exotica for sticking with us. The Ronnie Vegas podcast, they told me this week that they love what we're doing. They love the vibe. They love everything that's going on. So they said green light from Exotica to keep going. Thanks a lot, guys. Exotica, Route 37, Akwesasne. Tell them Ronnie Vegas sent you. And yeah, man.
Shout out to
Blueberry
Little
OG.
Vegas. Shout out to Little Vegas.
The Little Vegas, man, because if you're out there in Akwesasne, Elijah, you live out in Messina area. Yeah, if you ever drive by Exotica at night, they have so many lights and so many things going off, and they got like lit up billboards that change and shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. So the locals call it Little Vegas. Ronnie Vegas approved, baby. Blueberry OG.
So Ronnie, just so you know, I actually do their radio commercials whenever they come into the radio station. I
For
talk with
Exotica?
and Sandra. Yeah. So,
So you
this
know
might be a
Lawrence Lawrence.
surprise for them when they see this episode.
That's so funny.
Nice. That's awesome.
What a connection. That's so cool. Small
That is
world.
awesome.
You know, small world.
That is awesome. Unpaid. I'm doing another taste test because last episode I really liked the citrus. Hit
Not
the
a
music.
sponsor.
Hit the music.
It's in post, dude. It'll be there. Don't worry about it.
You didn't have to cut out. It's in post. I'm diving into it. Gin and juice. Snoop Dogg. Dr. Dre.
Is that passion fruit?
I'm gonna try some passion fruit. We're gonna see how it is.
I've never been a
Reckon.
fan of passion fruit flavored things. You know, It's
I
not
don't.
my thing.
I'm a fan of the color of the car though.
Oh, the
That's
purple,
nice.
yeah, the gold rims.
It's like you're rolling as a baller in GTA San Andreas.
Are all
That's
the
color.
colors of the cars different?
Yeah, the citrus was green. You didn't notice?
I didn't notice. No, it wasn't.
Citrus was green.
Even
yeah.
though I watched
So-
that episode 4 times in editing, I didn't notice the color of the car on the can. That's wild.
It was green,
Yeah.
like citrus,
Like the weed that you're smoking. That
like the
green.
weed I'm smoking. So, all right, let's do it together.
It would have been so good. Yesterday you had, or last week you had purple haze, and you're drinking a purple car. Whatever.
Yeah, it would have been. That would have been missed opportunity there. That is
Really good.
excellent.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
You know
the
what?
other one got that's pretty good. This one got an excellent.
No, this one is much better. This
Really?
is you know the hold on. Get it back in my head there. You know the grape sodas that they used to sell at like the fucking real small mini malls and shit? It's like off-brand grape soda.
No.
No.
No,
All right.
not
Open up a grape soda,
okay.
put some gin in there,
And that's
leave it out in the sun so it's not so grape soda-y. It's more
Mhm.
like flat grape soda
Yeah.
with gin in it. And that's pretty much what it is, but it's not. It has the taste of flat grape soda,
Even though it's
but
passion, is it passion fruit grape or is it just passion fruit?
it tastes like grape to me, man.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like it does not taste like a passion fruit. I like it. I really like it.
And the thing about grape flavoring too is that it's not even like the actual grape flavoring of things tastes nothing like a grape does whatsoever.
Well, that's why I said it's like the really cheap, like the ones you used to get at like the old markets and shit. Like it wasn't. It probably wasn't even called grape. It was probably called plum or some shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just a different
you knew it
fruit,
was grape.
brother. That's just a different fruit.
You know what I mean? No, it was still in the shape of a grape, and it looked great.
It's
and
like
it was
it's like
purple.
the combin. It's like when you don't get Dr Pepper, you get like Dr
Dr. Thunder.
Or something like that. It's just the off-brand grape soda. I got you. Yeah, I mean, I was
No,
never.
I really like this, man.
That's good, man.
It's half gone already. By the way, just shout out to Tick for episode 4.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really at this time, just in the short amount of time it's been live. At the time of recording this, it's doing really well. It's getting a lot of plays, a lot of feedback.
I believe it's our second most watched. We've only done 4 episodes. This one will be the 5th, but it is the second most watched episode, and it's only been out for 4 days now.
The most watched episode has been out for 5 weeks.
The first one, yeah, the original one, yeah.
Yeah, so this one's only been out for a few days, and it was really good. I getting a lot of good feedback. So we're just gonna keep having different special guests and everything on, and we will have Tick back though, so everyone knows we'll have Tick back. We have a lot more stories. We talked for a while, and yeah, he can probably be a recurring.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were in that call for about 3 hours. We cut it down to 2 because I mean a lot of the stuff
and
was.
And then me and him stayed in call, and we
for another like half an hour. Yeah.
Talked for another half hour about all the things we forgot to talk about, and then all the things that we could talk about. And yeah, it's gonna be good. We're more band stories, more growing up stories, just more wild stories we started thinking of. My brother got a hold of me, for everyone that was concerned on how flexible I was with the wrestling moves he used to put me in. He corrected me, and we're gonna add some to the list, and we'll put some pictures up here. There are 2 more he used to put me in all the time. Elijah, I know you probably know what these wrestling moves are, I would imagine.
Okay.
So he used to put me, he made sure. So I'm gonna say it for everybody. He put me, we'll put the pictures up. Put me in the camel clutch. If you remember that one. And he also used to put me in the rack like Lex Luger.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I sent Alex a video of that one earlier. That was a painful one because I didn't know how to ride that one out and not get hurt. That was a bad one.
I just looked up the camel clutch, and that looks painful on your back for sure. That does not look comfortable.
For those who don't know Sergeant Slaughter, who I think invented the camel clutch, it was also known as the Boston Crab.
Boston Crab. Okay.
The Boston Crab. Yes, I think Bret Hart.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to make that correction so everyone knows all the moves he used to put me in. Tick was more of a choke slam, rock bottom, used to try and power bomb me, that kind of shit.
The move was invented by Gary Guerrero in Mexico originally, where it was called, oh my god, my Spanish is not good, La Dea Caballo, which is horse mounting choke, but got its more common name by Ed Farhart, who wrestled as the Sheik, and used the Sheik and used it as his finisher. Rusev performs a variation he calls the Accolade, where he stomps on his opponent's back before applying the hold. And it was popularized by Scott Steiner in the late 1990s, as he used the finisher dubbed the Steiner Recliner.
The Steiner Recliner, baby, because he'd sit back
and bend their back. Oh god, that's
and
so
pull
painful.
the neck back. But
yeah,
that's what you did. Yeah. It was a good one. That was the Iron Sheik. Speaking of wrestling, what an unhinged dude! Like, have you seen the turkey thing where he talks about the turkey? There's a turkey tournament coming up, And Mean Gene, it's a blooper. It never made it to TV, but Mean Gene Okerlund's like, Iron Sheik, the turkey tournament coming up. You're going to be part of it. And there's a turkey in front of him, like in a cage. And the Iron Sheik goes, you know, I really don't care about this idiot, stupid turkey tournament. He picks him out and starts choking him. He's like, he remind me look like Hulk Hogan. Fuck. He puts him back in, then he's like, stay down. A twice fucking spits on the turkey.
Jesus Christ. What did that turkey do to him?
And then the fucking Mean Gene loses it, starts laughing like he couldn't hold character.
Had to
But
make it a blooper.
oh, so good, so good. Anyway, whew. All right. We got the funny stuff out. Let's get to a little bit of serious stuff. Let's talk about the newest rapper to hit the scene as of a couple days ago. That would be the Diddler.
The Diddler.
P. Diddle.
I was gonna say P Diddler is what is right
P.
there.
Diddler.
It's right
P.
there, P Diddler.
Yeah, so the feds apparently seized a bunch of his property.
So when we talked about it yesterday, because Ronnie and I kind of had a little discussion about it yesterday beforehand, because that was when the arrest was made public, was yesterday or maybe the day
Mr.
before.
Vegas.
Sorry, Mr. Vegas. That felt so
That sounded-
weird. That
No, that
felt
was good.
no, that
No,
felt
do it again. Do it
never again. I'm calling you Mr. Vegas.
Please.
Okay, I'll call you Mr.
Please.
Simser. I'll call you by your government name. How about that?
I will literally lose it. All right, let's go.
No, but apparently, again, none of this is like substantiated. It's all unsubstantiated evidence at this point because nobody like truthfully knows what was
There's
going
been
on.
no charges filed. Let's just put that
No,
out
but
there.
there were pictures of him and his son's friends in handcuffs and their property. And what is being said from the initial investigation of the house, I read this in an article yesterday. Again, I'll try and find the source and put it up on the screen, but I don't actually remember where. But I remember reading the article about it, and it's saying that it was essentially a similar situation to what they thought that Jeffrey Epstein was doing on his island, which was bringing these super powerful people into his area and then forcing them essentially to either watch or partake in these atrocious things. We won't get too far into it for trigger warnings and
you
such,
can
but
look
like
'em up.
you can look it up yourself as to what the things that they're talking about. Obviously bad enough to warrant a massive investigation and multiple arrests and stuff like that. But and then he would use this, and he had I think in his one Miami house it was like 150 cameras inside his house, not outside. Inside his house was over 150 cameras, and it was just recording every single angle of every room to use as blackmail against the people that were watching the awful things that were going on. And he would use that blackmail.
There's been a few rappers, and you know what? We all called Cat Williams nuts like 2 months ago when he did that interview, and he was like, when P. Diddy wants to party, you got to tell him no. I did. Like,
the Shannon Sharp interview with Cat Williams that everyone's been talking about for months.
What's he talking about? Oh, whatever. And then look now, dude. Cat Williams speaks the truth.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need to know. You here? Get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it does
This
seem
is
that
a
way.
safe place for the truth, and I like this podcast. It's a safe place.
It's interesting because obviously the situation is it's a fucked situation, and obviously if like we don't know if it's true, we don't know the whole situation.
No,
it's
there's
very
been
early
no
in the
charges.
process. And that's why I'm not going to convict a man before the entire trial. I know innocent until proven guilty, obviously. No disrespect. P. Diddy don't come to my house. So it's just
I think he's got bigger things on his mind.
absolutely. I think obviously if it is true, I hope that the victims get the support that they like deserve, and they get the ramifications for the awful acts that were being done to them get prosecuted and to the fullest extent of the law if it is true. And obviously if it is true, that's completely fucked and an awful situation, and I hope that in the end it works out for everybody that was in the bad situation with him, if that was the case.
Yeah, just like the victims of Epstein Island, because so much justice is being dished out.
Yeah.
Wait
a second.
hold
Oh
on.
no, wait, no, they just got
Well,
rid
I
of
know
all
P
of those.
Diddy, P Diddler, the Diddler. I know.
I cannot
he-
wait. I'm sorry to cut you off here. I cannot wait to edit P Diddy's face on the Riddler's body and put it on screen. I am
That's
so
my
excited.
guy.
I am so excited to do that.
Put him right here, real quick.
Don't lick the diddler.
No.
Oh, I thought that's what you were supposed to do to get a record contract. I'm sorry. I was just trying to get
That's how
signed.
you get famous there.
I never got signed. I was just
You
trying
gotta
to get signed.
lick the diddler.
I've
Hey guys, do you remember a few years back? I say a few years. It was more than a few years. But do you remember when the Subway guy got taken down?
Jared from
Oh, yeah.
Subway, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Jared
Okay.
from Subway.
So, I didn't know anything about the P. Diddy allegations. I've never really looked that much into him, never really listened that much to his music, okay? But when I first heard that like this was happening to me, because I hadn't heard the allegations, it kind of felt like the whole Subway thing where it's like, what the hell's going on? Like I wouldn't have expected that from that person. And then I started reading all the allegations and, kind of all the hints that were dropped over the years. And I'm like, oh, so they have been talking about this for a while.
Long time.
Yeah,
This is just the first time that there is actually a victim that came forward and pressed charges against him.
No, so apparently there's so they haven't officially filed any sex trafficking charges or anything, but I guess there's a lot of allegations of rape that I was, drugging and all that kind of stuff, and yeah. So I mean, there are substantiated claims by victims. So I mean, yeah.
I believe it was an unconfirmed source. I remember reading it in the article. It was saying that this person who they didn't name themselves in the article was brought in, and somebody who was unconscious was brought in to the same room as them, and apparently P. Diddy, his son, and his son's friend then sexually assaulted that person in front of that other person, and
Jesus,
and there is apparently he was saying there was a video of it, and because I watched it happen and didn't stop it because there were 3 of them and 1 of me, it makes it seem like I was a part of it and encouraging it, so he used it as blackmail against me to do something that he had wanted, which is obvious. It is it's a disgusting situation if that is the truth. Obviously, you can't believe everybody, but the immediate reaction when something like this happens, especially when there is all of that previous stories being told of everything, it is kind of like it seems like already, I don't know how many times just today and yesterday I saw online things essentially, you know how the internet works, something fucked happens and then immediately the internet goes and makes jokes about it and convicts the person.
Yeah, I got you. No,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just hope it's not one of those Epstein situations where everyone's so fucking rich and so powerful that was involved in the whole thing that nothing fucking gets done.
What's so wild is that P. Diddy, Sean Diddler Combs, he's a very wealthy person, obviously, but I don't believe he is at the same level of the people that were going to Epstein's Island, which were essentially billionaires and millionaires.
How big was his ring? If that's really what was happening?
Who knows?
Because P. Diddy has got some reach.
For sure.
You know what I mean? He does have some reach. So I mean, there could be. I'm just saying. I really hope something actually gets done about it.
If something actually happened that was wrong, I hope that it gets dealt with swiftly, and everybody that is, of course it'll never happen, but everybody that is guilty will get punished for it, and we'll see if that happens, if it happens.
That'd be nice.
Talking about not knowing what happened.
Yes. Go ahead.
The bridge in Baltimore.
Oh.
So
man, we watched that together last night.
Yeah, we did. We watched the video of it crashing, and I've done some more research on it since then.
Yeah, also.
Yeah, so we watched it last night, and obviously it's a very tough and very sad situation because at least 6 people did pass away, and I don't want to brush past that like that's not the headline, but obviously it's a ridiculous thing to see that the last time that this had happened was, I believe, in the 80s. A cargo ship crashed into a Florida bridge and caused it to collapse, and that killed like 50 people in the 80s or something like that. It was a bridge in Tampa, I believe, in the Bay of Tampa Bay, and then this one happened in the middle of the night 2 nights ago. I believe it was
1:37 a.m. is
Tuesday.
when the collision happened.
Tuesday, 1:37 in the morning, and I am about an hour drive away from Baltimore, where I live right now. And I debated on going to drive and take a look at it, which I think I will in the next couple days, just to go take a look at it in person to really get the magnitude of it, because it's tough to really tell on a video. But it's a mile-long stretch of bridge, and I believe
that just in 10 seconds.
I believe it was 3/4 of a mile of the bridge collapsed. It was 3/4 of a mile of the entire bridge had collapsed because of the ship losing power. So apparently, I remember, if we remember when we were talking about the Boeing thing, where they had that employee that Boeing wasn't releasing the information about, the one that had done the maintenance work on that door seal,
on the door that actually blew off.
Apparently there was in last summer, so about 8 or 9 months ago or something like that, there was a maintenance worker working on that ship that said that there's going to be a problem with the thrusting system on this. Like, there is a problem with this and it needs to be looked at, and apparently it got pushed down the road. So right now, nobody is blaming the captain, because there's video evidence of the entire ship losing power twice before it comes in contact with the bridge, which is so messed up, because people died, and you can't blame anything but machine failure at this point. Obviously, there's the whole investigation that needs to be done about, like, listening to the audio transcription, but there was a mayday put out before the thing. Like, there was, like, as soon as the thing lost power, they put it a mayday. You can see the smoke billowing from them trying to turn on the secondary generators to try and power it on, the backup generators to power it on, and it wasn't enough, and obviously it crashed into the bridge and killed 6 construction workers that were working on filling potholes on the bridge, which is obviously an unbelievably sad situation.
Yeah, just you're out there in the middle of the night because you know it's not going to be busy, just filling fucking potholes.
It was so anxiety ridden, knowing that the bridge was going to collapse when you're watching the video, and watching cars drive over the bridge as this massive.
We witnessed 2 tractor trailers.
Yeah, there were massive,
and the boat looks like it's there, but it's not. I guess it's just creeping forward, and it's
the angle of the camera, because you're looking directly through the pillar, basically at the like boat, and it's in like live speed that video is. So it is just this looming figure of this massive 1,000-foot long, 220,000 tons. Again, that's 40 million pounds of things on that boat, just creeping up to this bridge. And then obviously the really sad part is, after you see it collapse, you can see the part where all of the, like, construction workers' cars, you can see their headlights just ride. It's like a ramp straight down into the water, and then you see the massive metal like support things on top just go land right down on top of it. And it was extremely cold that night too. It was in the 20s that night, so the water was freezing cold.
Called off the rescue diving
after like
today.
8 hours. No, it was yesterday. They called it off after. It was like yesterday at noon or in the afternoon or something, because they had.
It was just too cold.
They were like, even though like if we found them, or like if we found them like quickly, it wouldn't have been a problem. But even if they had survived the actual crashing aspect of it, which was not likely to begin with, because they fell 60 stories on top of metal, and then metal landed on top of them, and it was just not likely that they were going to be alive. However many hours later, hypothermia sets in so quickly when you're in 20-degree water, 30-degree water, whatever it is. It's just a really sad situation, and obviously it hasn't happened in 40 years now, so it's not a common situation. So it's everywhere all over the internet, and it's just a really sad situation.
I've heard some people say they're worried it was a terrorist attack. And I would just like to say, from witnessing the video, you don't attack a fucking bridge at 1:37 in the morning.
Yeah, you don't attack Francis Scott Key Bridge at 1:30 in the morning with a tanker full of, like, that's not, no. And the captain was a long-time captain for that shipping company. He'd been there for a long time with no problems, and that's why they were so quick to dismiss him as the reason why it crashed. because it was so clearly just unfortunately a mechanical failure, and obviously
And
they still have an investigation to do. But
I heard on the radio today that I guess like 3 or 4 minutes before they actually hit the pillar, they were contacting the Department of Transportation to tell them they were probably going to hit it. They need to close the bridge down. But 4 minutes to try and get a hold of the construction workers and everybody. By the time the bridge was down, then they shut it off so people wouldn't just ramp right over it, because it went down quick.
It was very fast.
10 seconds.
Yeah. Thousands of tons of metal and asphalt just fall down.
I was shocked
free fall.
to learn how much those fucking cargo ships weigh. You said it was 220,000 tons?
220,000 tons fully loaded. It is
and they were loaded, man.
That ship had just gotten loaded in the Bay of Baltimore and was on its way out. I don't remember where it was being shipped to, but yeah, it was a fully loaded tanker. Obviously, I don't know the exact weight of that thing, but that is what, when I googled the approximate weight of a fully loaded cargo ship was, and it was an 1,000-foot cargo ship, and the average weight of a fully loaded, like it could have been more than that. That was like a higher end of the average of a fully loaded cargo truck was 220,000 tons, which is again 40 million pounds. Or it might be,
and even moving at
even more
inches. That boat was just creeping. Like you can't stop that much weight. It's gonna plow through anything, no matter how slow it's going.
Inertia.
It was sad.
That's just
sad situation.
Yeah, inertia's a bitch, Sorry, 485 million tons. Sorry, 485 million pounds is how much it weighs. 485 million pounds is how much that thing weighs. And even if it was going 2 miles an hour, that amount of force on anything will cause it to collapse. I was watching a structural engineer talk about it on the news, and he was saying no bridge in the world could have survived that crash. It was going to take down every single bridge. Because they were talking about looking into the structure of the bridge itself. And I was like, that
bridge has been there for a long time.
Yeah,
long time. So long, in fact, that Joe Biden said he used to take a train across it. Just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, he's from Baltimore too, so yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he's not from Baltimore. He's from Delaware, which is right up the street from me.
Joey, there's no train tracks, bud. Sit down. All right. Anyway, yeah. So it's sad, man. I hope. I don't know. I mean, what are you gonna do at this point? Do you know how long it takes to rebuild a bridge like that, dude? There's a bridge on Route 11 in Philadelphia, New York, that is maybe 15 feet long, and it took them 3 fucking years, bro. This is 3/4 of a mile, and they gotta fish the rest of it out. That's
bridge,
gonna be shut. And there's only one other bridge going into Baltimore.
Connecting Baltimore City from Baltimore Harbor. There's one other bridge.
Map, the bridge that collapsed was about that long, and the bridge that's open is about this long.
The one that's shorter leads directly into the city of Baltimore. And it's not funny because I've driven over the F. Scott Fitzgerald Bridge a couple times since I live in the area. I've gone to DC a couple times to go watch Wizards Heat games, and so I'll drive down there, and you literally have to go right off that. Yes, sir, go Heat. You got to drive right across that bridge to not drive right through Baltimore. You drive right across that bridge to go across the bay. And it saves you the traffic of going through Baltimore, or in around it the other way is a lot slower than going across that bridge.
They said it's not going to stop any freight. That like ships and stuff are already being rerouted to different ports and stuff like that. They said there's not going to be that much of an interruption.
There are other access points to that.
But I don't believe that with that bridge being 4 lanes and how big it was and how long it was, and then now you have to take all your truck freight across that tiny bridge right into the city. That's not going to cause. And everybody who was taking the big bridge is now going to take the little bridge. I don't know, man.
Or go all the way around, which is adding 40 minutes to their commute. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to say is up here, it took them 3 fucking years to build that tiny bridge. This is going to take a fucking minute. It's not going to be fixed anytime soon.
It is definitely not going to be a quick fix
anytime soon. But yeah, hope it all works out.
Yeah, I mean, bridges are massive infrastructure developments, and they cost a lot of money and a lot of time to build. A lot of labor is put into it.
Yeah,
It's
they
an
don't just
extremely
willy-nilly
dangerous
throw those
job,
fucking bridges up.
especially if they have to redo the support beams because it was crashed into. You probably have to
Exactly.
dig all of that shit up and then like deploy. It's gonna be a process. Yeah, I know that the
Yeah, it's
mayor
gonna
of
be-
Baltimore was more the last time he had spoken to press, that was before they had cut off the search for the people. And when they asked how long it was going to be, a reporter asked how long it was going to be before the bridge was rebuilt, and he said, we're focused on finding the people that are like their lives are in danger right now." And I don't
would've said to the-
I don't know
would've
if he's
said,
spoken to the
how
press
old are
since.
you? You ain't gonna see it. That's what I was.
It'll
Like, it's gonna take 10, 20 fucking years.
no,
bro. Mark
no,
my
it won't
words.
take that long, especially
Bullshit.
in a massive city
Bullshit.
like
I
that.
will take a bet right now.
Okay.
Right now. Right now. It will not be done before 2040. I work in construction, bro. I'm fucking telling you.
There's a difference between the construction that you do and the building of bridges, because the building of bridges is done by the state government and the federal government, because it is considered something that is necessary. And because it's such a massive story, they will get immediate funding and they will immediately start. They've already started the cleanup process. Like they already have, I'm sure.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
I have worked on federal installations, army bases.
Is it a
where
bridge?
The Army Corps,
Is it a
the Army
bridge
Corps
that
of
a city
Engineers-
needs?
The Army Corps of Engineers designs this shit. Some of the worst fucking designs. Building like just shit you can't. I'm just saying, 2040. That's my bet. You tell me. What do you, Blaze? What do you think? When do you think it's gonna be done? Go ahead.
I'd say within 5 years, maybe 10 years.
Okay. Well, you can't say 5 or 10. That's a big fucking difference.
I'd say within 10 years then. I'd say within 10.
Within 10.
Yeah, within 10 years.
So anything over 10, you owe me 50 grand.
The longest bridge that took to build was the Brooklyn Bridge. It took 14 years.
Take the bet.
I will take the bet. Because the Brooklyn Bridge is longer than that bridge, and that was the longest ever, and it took 14 years. And that was also that was a while ago that the Brooklyn Bridge was built. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I know you're looking at Ronnie's beautiful face right now in a funny look, but I just wanted to come in here and give some more information about some more bridges. You know, obviously I mentioned about the Brooklyn Bridge. It took 14 years to make. That was the longest time it took to make. That was 1883 that happened. The Golden Gate Bridge took all of 4 years and 4.5 months. That's twice as long as this section of bridge. China recently built last year in June. They finished the largest bridge in the world. It was 34 miles long, 55 kilometers for those that aren't using imperial. It took 9 years to construct. 9 years to build the longest bridge in the world. Obviously, they used a lot more people and China's infrastructure is wild in the regards of how they build things. But, you know, just in comparison, no bridge has ever taken 20 years to build, and Ronnie is dead set on dying on that hill. Just thought I'd let you know. It took 14 years to build the Brooklyn Bridge 100 years ago. You think it's going to take more than that to build a smaller bridge now?
Yep.
You're wrong. You're
not.
Totally wrong about that.
They got to fish the other one out first.
Yeah. How long do you think it takes to tug some fucking metal out? A couple months?
Then they got to Then they got to design it. Then they got to fight over which architect's design is perfect. Then they got to start haggling over the subcontractors and contractors and all the money.
What do you think all of that time takes?
Timeline,
6
and
months?
This and that bullshit.
6 months before they start working on a new bridge? An overpass collapsed in Philadelphia, right over the Union fucking soccer field. They collapsed right over there, and people were driving on that overpass 2 days later. 2 days later, they rebuilt a 100-foot stretch of road in 2 days, Ronnie.
That's a 100-foot stretch of road, bro.
Yeah,
I could do that with a wheelbarrow and a
three
fucking
quarters
stomping
of
shovel.
three-quarters of a mile. 3/4 of a mile. Obviously, it's much more because you have to rebuild the entire bridge.
2 days. 2 days.
Absolutely not 2 days.
How much they get paid?
A lot of fucking money, brother. And
a lot of fucking money.
There was
Give me a lot of money. Give me a lot of money. I will get every fucking meth head in the fucking tri-state area, and we will go fucking build that road in 2 days. I could do it.
You would need about 1 million people to rebuild that bridge in 2 days. But like when you think about the amount of, if you have enough money, you can build infrastructure much quicker. And I think that they're going to get a lot of money. When COVID first hit, China built the second largest hospital in their country in less than a month.
That's not real.
It is real.
Oh, okay. Is that real?
It is real.
I still say
Absolutely massive
2040.
hospital.
I'm sticking by it. 2040.
2040 is
Mark
in
my words.
16 years.
Yep.
So you think it's going to take 2 years longer than a bigger bridge built in the 1800s?
Yep.
You're one of the meth heads that they're going to need to hire, I guess, because that is ridiculous. If that math doesn't add up whatsoever.
What do you mean? It's not math. It's fucking science.
We were barely out of the Industrial Revolution when this fucking bridge was built in New York City. Not actually barely.
Have
We
you
were like
seen the pyramids?
uh-huh.
We can't build them today. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we can build bridges.
Can we?
Have you ever been to Pittsburgh?
No.
There's about a
Haven't.
billion bridges.
Never had the
It is
pleasure
the
of
city
being-
of bridges.
It's the city of bridges. Yes,
Oh
sir.
man.
All right. Let's get to our very, very, very special guest, Elijah Winfrey. He is a writer, director. He has directed such movies such as The Ballad of Billy Badass. He has a movie, Captain Corpse, coming out July 20th at a theater. We'll tell you more about that. He's got a new movie he's working on, Fourth Coast Killer. He's a podcast host. He's a radio DJ. He owns a football team. He organizes Comic-Cons. Yo, he does everything. Everyone, make some noise for Elijah Winfrey! Yes, sir. Say hi, man.
How's it going, everybody?
Way to go. Great introduction. Quick question before we get started into anything else. What's your favorite comic book hero and or villain?
Okay, so I was a little sad earlier with the whole Diddler thing because my favorite villain is the Riddler.
The Riddler.
And I'm like, God, please don't do that to my guy. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of the Riddler. Huge fan of Batman. I'm also a fan of the Phantom, which a lot of people don't remember the Phantom, but he came out years before Batman ever did, and a lot of the things we love about Batman as comic book fans, you know, they kind of were able to piggyback off of things they did in the Phantom comic. I also love the Green Hornet as well. So
yes, sir. I love the Green Hornet movie with Seth Rogen. Is it Seth Rogen?
yeah, Seth Rogen.
Yeah. I love that movie. You seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen that
Well,
one.
how
I
did you
enjoyed
think it? Because I don't know the Green Hornet comics. How did it compare?
So I don't know as far as the Green Hornet comics are concerned, but I know I watched the Green Hornet television show because you can find all those episodes on YouTube for free. They only did one season of that show, and yet it's still being talked about to this day. But I will say that I like the investigation piece better in the television show because I thought they were able to flesh that out a little bit more. But I will say that I think the Green Hornet movie with Seth Rogen, I think it's a fun time. You know, that's a big thing with me. You know, I don't feel like every single movie has to have the weight of the world on its shoulders. You know, although critics will do that nowadays. They're like, you know, we expected this movie to save us, and it's like it's a movie.
Yeah.
Like if you expect
a
it to fix your life,
movie,
there's gonna be a problem here.
You enjoy
So
it for what
me,
it is.
I enjoy getting a big old bucket of popcorn, a big drink, just sit down, turn my brain off for about an hour and a half, and just have fun. You know, and that's what I do when I watch the Green Hornet movie with Seth Rogen.
Yeah, it was definitely. I just.
I was gonna say I haven't seen that movie, but if it's a Seth Rogen movie, I imagine it is.
He does. It's
a funny
weird that
movie.
he can't get rid of that laugh no matter what he does. Because in Invincible, he does a voiceover, and he doesn't really laugh much in that show, but sometimes he giggles and he like he does that, and you know. Then the Green Hornet, and he does. He also does the Monsters versus Aliens. He's the little blob.
I feel like that might be the most recognizable laugh in all of film and TV. Like that's up. I don't know any other thing that like really makes like, oh, that is that person's laugh other than Seth Rogen's laugh.
Back in the 90s, we had Fran Drescher.
Yeah, who's that?
She was an actress. She was on TV. She was in a couple movies, whatever. But her laugh was like a real life SpongeBob.
The Nanny,
it was,
Saturday Night Fever.
Oh yeah.
Jack.
No, she was big for a while.
Cadillac Man.
She was big
I don't
for
know
a
this
I
while.
have to say this: Seth Rogen's laugh is why you will never see Seth Rogen involved in anything illegal. Because the best way they would be able to find him is, hey, quick, somebody say something funny, and then
Yeah.
he would be laughing behind whatever he's hiding behind. There we go, we got him. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were in a house that was like he was like a killer in the house. If Seth Rogen was a killer in the house, hiding in a closet, all you'd have to do is say a funny joke, and then you would know exactly where he is. It'd be,
I'm in the house. Where are you? I won't tell you. Fucking you're laughing in the fucking background. Yeah. Oh yeah.
the only other laugh, I guess for me, the only other laugh that is that recognizable isn't even in movies and TV. It's like the Wiz Khalifa laugh on his songs that he does is always he does the same laugh every single time, and that's very recognizable. But,
I know Wiz Khalifa strictly for his marijuana use. And if anyone knows, I know everyone in the world is connected by 5 people. Did you know that? It's a strange fact. It's a fact.
I don't think that's true.
Everybody in the world is connected by 5 people. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody
like
who knows
that.
somebody
Okay.
who knows Wiz Khalifa.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Everybody in the world is connected by just 5 people. So Wiz Khalifa, come get it. Come get it, brother. All right. Let's get back to it.
When you said that that everybody is like everyone, I thought you meant like related. I was like, everybody in the world did not come from a pool of 5 individual people. Because the amount of birth defects that would have in the long.
First of all, the ancient Sumerians made us.
Okay, we don't gotta go. I'll put a tin hat on you this time.
Please. Here, I'll get a please. Tin hat, please. All right. Anyway. So writer director, the Ballad of Billy Badass. Let's talk about that. Or you bring us. You know what I want to do. You know what I want to do.
We should go in order. Let's go in order.
Because you tell us, because you're not originally from the North Country.
Born in Georgia, right?
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Atlanta, and usually what I tell people, just because it's simpler this way, is I just say I'm from Atlanta and I came up here to the North Country. But the truth of it is, and I haven't really told many people kind of my backstory, so I wanted to do this on the show in case it might help some people out there. The true story is that I've actually been to the North Country a couple different times. So we can certainly get into that if y'all want to. But like I said, the biggest thing, because I know that, some of what I'm going to say is going to be a little bit traumatic. So what I usually tell people before I say anything about my backstory is just that I never view trauma as a competition. I wish nobody had trauma. But I do notice that whenever you hear people talk about it, you usually get 2 reactions. Either reaction 1 is people try to, tell you their traumatic experiences
and
as a way to say, hey, I've been there too. I've been there too. You know what I mean? Or you get people who think it's a competition, so they want to put down your trauma to lift theirs up.
Yeah.
And so what I always tell people is right out the gate, I'm not that type of person. I think we all, a lot of us have trauma. And like I said, I wish none of us had it. So, but like I said, we can get into that. It's a long story, but I'm more than willing to share if it helps people. So.
Hey, sorry for another interruption. This is your boy to join editing. I just wanted to give a quick little preface about the conversation that we're about to have with Elijah. Elijah really goes in depth about his childhood. He has a very deep and meaningful conversation with me and Ronnie about it. And obviously we appreciate him coming on and discussing this stuff with us. And his entire goal is to help people through things, and he's going to discuss that as well. Elijah's a great guy. This was the first time I met him and spoke to him, but it's very evident in the rest of this episode and going into the next episode that his goal is to really help people. But of course, the conversations that he's going to have over the rest of this video are very traumatic. They're not fun things that he had to deal with, and he was very open, and we were very appreciative of him being that open with us. But if you're not comfortable with that kind of conversation, this episode was split into 2 parts. The rest of this episode will be him discussing his upbringing and the trauma and things along those lines. And the second episode, which will come out next week, will be the more lighthearted stuff that you're more used to. We discuss his films and his directing and the podcast that he does and the radio show that he hosts and all the other things that we wanted to talk about him with. But again, like I said, if you're not comfortable with traumatic experiences, or if you yourself have dealt with it, Elijah does a great job of communicating his thoughts during the times, and really does a great job going in depth, but not super in depth. So you don't really need to worry about anything, but there are things that people might not be comfortable with. So if that is you, I'd recommend just skipping the rest of this episode and tuning in next week and watching the more lighthearted part of it. All right. Thank you very much. Get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Get into it.
Go for
Okay.
it, bro.
So
As much as you're willing to
I
share.
was born in 1993, November 11th of 1993. I was kind of, for lack of a better term, like a oops baby. Like I was not, a planned thing. Okay. And my dad and my mom only stayed together for like a year after I was born. And one of the biggest things that happened in my life is that my mom, after about a year of being with my father, she took me from where we were living. I believe at that point in time, my dad was in the Air Force, so they were out in like Texas. So I was born in Georgia, then he got into the Air Force, and I believe we were out in Texas when this happened. But she ended up taking me and running all the way up here to upstate New York. And just to kind of summarize like the first few years of my life so that people kind of understand what I'm talking about. So when my mom ran up here, she ran up here with a story. And the story was that my father had gotten angry one night and ran my head through a wall as an infant, causing me to have a brain injury. And what would happen with my mother is that she would go around to different doctors telling this story. And as those doctors got closer and closer to finding out that wasn't true, she would take us and move again. We moved around a lot. During my early years. And basically, she was trying to get and I always use the two words incorrectly, but I believe it's sympathy, not empathy, but sympathy. She was trying to get the sympathy from all these people that, oh, I have this child that's got this traumatic brain injury. And that's what she did. She kept me away from my father for, I want to say, the first 6 or 7 years of my life. Then they had a huge custody battle in 2000. But for the majority of my youngest years, my developmental years, she had me on all sorts of medications. Whatever she could get the doctors to give me, she was doing. So I was heavily medicated during that time frame. And it's one of those things like, when you're going through the trauma, like you don't necessarily identify as trauma because you just think, every kid's going through that.
Yeah.
You don't realize, oh, wait, like this is kind of fucked up,
Right.
And so I realized that, kind of as I got older, and it got confirmed to me a few years ago when my dad sent me over some documents that was actually from basically the courts have brought in somebody to talk to both parents and kind of sift through all the information and be my representative. Now, I never met this person, at least I don't remember meeting this person because I was a kid, but
Right.
this person went to the judge and was like, okay, I took story A, story B, and right down the middle, here's what I believe the truth is, of the situation.
Yeah.
And it was right there in black and white. And I got to tell you, like seeing that, it really fucked me up. And it's something that it validated the thing that I thought, but it also was like, okay, here's that wound that you did a good job to make sure to scab over, or let heal.
And here it comes
Let's go ahead and
reopening
rip that thing
Yeah,
open.
rip
Now
it
we're going to
open,
do some real healing.
Yeah.
And so I turned 30 in November of this past year, and for me it was like, wow, man, all those efforts of trying to essentially kill me, during my younger years. And yet I'm still here. I'm still doing the stuff that I'm doing and creating the opportunities that I'm creating for people to be able to do what they love. So, like, that to me is a big part of my story. There's more to it, fellas, but I don't want to just take over the entire show. So let me know if you want me to continue.
No, no, wow,
I mean, that's a fucked situation, obviously, and
Yeah.
that I'm sure that obviously when you're going through it, it's tough to really, like you said, identify with it, and obviously hindsight brings that all into light for you, and it's a, I mean, it's a great story of overcoming things too, because you really had no control over the situation, and
Yeah, really, for
you
real. Like you see that kind of thing like in movies sometimes where like the
Yeah.
kids are on all kinds of medications, thinks they got whatever, but to actually know somebody who went through that, that's
was
totally
gonna say there was
different.
that really famous movie that of the girl that was stuck in the wheelchair, and her
Yeah,
mom was giving her all of these medications for things for ailments that she didn't have, and
yeah.
like her mom was keeping her essentially captive and wanting to keep her docile. For I don't think I've seen the movie. I've seen a lot of clips of the movie. I don't remember how it ends or anything like that. But I remember her going to a lot of places and trying to figure out what she was giving her and why she
Exactly.
was giving
Yeah.
it to her and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
obviously, you can't do that as a kid. When you're a
No,
kid,
you,
you
you
do what
can't.
you
Yeah,
do what your parents tell you to do, and you
yeah.
assume that the situation is the same for everybody, like you said, because you
Like
don't
yeah,
have like. I'm sure it's not something that you like openly talked about if like with I guess at that age you were like really, really young, so maybe not necessarily in school or whatever, but any peers you might have had or anything, you probably didn't have the mental capacity like at that age to even discuss it
even
or
articulate it.
understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
It was
mean,
it was it was weird. It was weird because like and this is the thing I really want to make sure that I get across as I'm telling this story is that I personally don't have a relationship with my biological mother anymore. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that. But I don't hate her. I don't wish ill on her. That's not what this is about, which is why you'll notice that I'm not using her name because I don't want people to
yeah, yeah,
watch
yeah.
and then go and act a fool to her. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I've moved on. I'm good. The only reason why I share this, like I said, is in case it might help somebody else down the line because that's what I'm all about. But it was weird because back then, I would have those things happening, right? But at the same time, she would also, for lack of a better term, be like love bombing me. So,
yeah,
like, for example, she would tell me, hey, if you're good this week, we'll get you a Star Wars toy. I'm like, all right, I'll be good. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't a bad kid.
Right,
And then,
right.
Christmas time, I'd walk down and there would be the whole room filled with toys, like legitimately the whole room filled with toys. But while that's happening, so is all the medical stuff going on too. So
yeah,
it was
Right.
weird. That's why I always tell people that like I know she loves me somewhere in her being, okay,
Somewhere down
but
in
I
there.
also know, it's complicated. I
for
guess that's
sure.
the best way to say it, is that it's complicated. But um, during my early years, she had a couple different boyfriends. One of them became like a constant, as far as like who she was with, and that would be my stepfather. And again, I'm not going to use his name because I'm not trying to like shit on people on this show. I'm just
Right.
trying to tell my story. So,
Yeah.
but my stepfather, he had a son that was not related to me. So I guess you would call him my half brother.
Yeah.
And
Step
the
brother.
half
Stepbrother.
brother,
Yeah.
yeah. However, I'm not sure
I
exactly
was gonna
what the
say
family
half
tree
brother
thing is,
would
but
be if if your stepfather and your biological mother had a child, that'd be your half brother. But yeah,
okay.
stepbrother
So
would be
So your
different
stepbrother.
family. Yeah.
yeah. So he had a lot of behavioral issues, and so what they would do is basically the same punishment he gets, the same punishment I get. But my stepfather was a drunk, so it was a lot of like I wouldn't necessarily do anything wrong, but I'd still get punished for it if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I got
Um,
you. I got you.
and I know one of the things that he would do is he would like throw me in the shower. Okay, he would take the cold water, turn it all the way on, and then I would have to sit there with the cold water going until he thought that I had enough punishment, and then he would get me out.
Wow.
Um,
How long
but
would
it
that
was
last, dude? How long would be long enough?
I don't know. I don't
I mean,
remember
I
to be
know
honest.
I know you were a kid and it probably felt like forever, but in hindsight, being an adult, how long do you think it went on?
I would say probably like 30 to 45 seconds,
Yo,
probably.
Oh God, I
But
thought you were gonna say
that's still a
minutes.
lot.
Oh, that's a lot of time to sit in cold water. I hate taking cold showers.
yeah, 45 seconds is a long time, but yeah, 45 minutes. No, so
That's what
45 seconds though.
I thought you
Yeah,
said
it was.
30 to 45 minutes.
No. I probably wouldn't be here. If
That
it was
would be
30, 45 minutes,
hypothermia
but
level,
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say,
sitting
yeah,
in that
damn,
cold.
yeah.
it
But
was something.
still, even step into a shower now for 45 seconds cold water.
No, never.
I can't.
But it was something that he was, I guess, told to do for his son. So that's what he did to me. Um, but it was pretty traumatic because him and my mother were getting a lot of fights, and so I would try to like get in the middle. I can't really do much. I'm not that big, at that time. But I tried to get in the middle, like don't hit my mom, like things like that. And then it was weird because like I would stick up for her, but then I would get in trouble by her for sticking up for her. So it's like, well, what the fuck? Like I was trying to like do the right thing. You know what I mean? But and I won't go too far into this, but um, basically my stepfather's son, he did actually sexually assault me when I was a kid. And that's important to the story for something I'm going to tell you later on in the story. Okay.
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 But one of the things that happened, like I said before, is that they had the custody battle. And my mother lost. My dad got me after years of fighting for me. Okay. He was able to get me, and we ended up living in Georgia. And some of the good things that happened in that experience, living with my father, we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot. He was a single dad, but he tried to make sure that I could go to as many concerts as I could. Now, he was somebody who was very much involved in the church scene. So that's kind of where my faith comes from, is from that. And so we would go to Christian concerts. And one of the bands that we went and saw, maybe Joy can find a photo of this band. They were called Audio Adrenaline, and I remember seeing them a bunch of times. And one of my favorite times that we saw them, they were actually doing a tour for their album Worldwide, which came out, I believe, in 2003. And so what they did on that album, and I think Ronnie will appreciate this if I can grab this CD here real quick. Let me see if I can't do that without making a bunch of noise. So one of the things they did on this album is they did a free backstage pass. And I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see
Oh
if I
yeah,
can
no,
grab.
I saw. Yeah.
So yeah,
Free
they did a free
backstage pass in
backstage
every album.
in every album so that you can come see
Wow.
them. Now you got to have a ticket to the show, obviously, but a free backstage
That
pass.
is really cool.
So
That is a fucking amazingly smart marketing idea.
Really good.
I should have fucking thought of that.
You were right.
so
You did
what
appreciate
happened
it.
with this-
yeah, wicked.
So what happened with this was the show was at a church, okay? And basically, after the show was done, which by the way, opening for Audio Adrenaline that night was Mercy Me, song I Can Only Imagine, which for a lot of people, you don't got to be a Christian to know that song because that song was everywhere after 9/11. But they were opening up because Mercy Me wasn't that big yet, so they were opening up for Audio Adrenaline that night. So anyway, show gets done, right? My dad and I were trying to figure out like where is this meet and greet happening. We get in line. We're the last people in line.
Okay.
By the time we get up to the band, nobody else is there. Okay. So they had already locked the doors behind us to the church. So we couldn't just go back out the way we came. So we ended up getting to walk with the band out the doors they went to. So like they, for like 10, I'll say approximately like 30 seconds, I felt like a member of Audio Adrenaline because I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I'm walking with these guys that I saw. So, their music was really impactful to me. But like I said, my dad, he was somebody, he still is somebody who tries to make sure those opportunities happen. He lives in South Carolina now, so we don't get to hang out as much. But like I said, those early days when we were living together in Georgia, I don't know how he did it, but he made sure that I could go to as many concerts as I could. We saw Reliant K together. We saw Five Iron Frenzy together. Just, as many concerts as we could. And we also went to a lot of movies, which is a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. What was interesting about it was in my community in Georgia, they had a dollar theater. And what the dollar theater would do is get the movies that would come out and would be like 3 weeks from being on physical media. So it was like the last chance for that movie to make some money before it's a DVD or a VHS. So we would go there. That's how we could afford to go to movies. Is we go pay $1 for the ticket. Probably wouldn't even do the concession stand thing, and we just go watch a movie. And I remember seeing Kangaroo Jack, which is one of my favorite films. It's a stupid movie, but I love that film. So we went and saw that at the Dollar Theater. But it was interesting because living with my dad, right? My mom is still trying to get in the picture. So she started doing this stuff where she would figure out, where my dad and I were living in Georgia. She would then go and tell whatever story she was telling, okay, so that the cops would come and arrest my father on a Friday, and then we could, she would take me and she would run. So because he's arrested on a Friday, he's got to wait till Monday to actually see a judge, and then actually go and try to, get me back, which he successfully did, obviously every time. But it was it happened a lot to
That's
the
a
point
fucking process that nobody wants to fucking go through once, let alone fucking over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially it's getting kidnapped. You were getting kidnapped. Just because it was your mother doesn't change the fact that it was literally kidnapping you away from your rightful guardian.
We haven't even gotten into the stuff that I would consider like really monumental to my story, but these are just kind of the building blocks. This is the foundation so that you guys understand later, like, oh, I get it now,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm a big football fan. I love the Detroit Lions. I love the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I got my love of football from my dad, who's a Green Bay Packers fan and Florida State Seminoles fan, and my grandfather, my pawpaw, who recently passed away this past winter, which
sorry for your loss.
was unfortunate. But they instilled in me a love of football that survives to this day. And you guys have mentioned owning a football team, so we'll talk about that. I'm sure later down.
I'd like to get to that.
But I know that a big thing for me, especially during that time frame, is like I associate. I don't know if you guys are like this at all either, but I associate events in my life with what was going on in the NFL season that year. Do you guys do that?
That
do
is
that?
that is me. That is my like Ronnie doesn't watch football like that. I am
I used to. I more associate things in my life with what I was listening to at the time.
Okay.
Like it's hard for me to listen to the Follow the Leader album by Korn because I went through a little rough patch in my teenage life when that came out, and that's all I fucking listened to. So whenever I hear a song off that, except Got the Life, I can listen to Got the Life just because that fucking song's good. But
it brings you back to that time.
But you did it with football.
For sure.
So,
oh yeah.
So here's what happened, okay? And this is one of the bigger events in my life. And again, I'm summarizing like 20 years of shit here, fellas. So just because I know it's not like Joe Dirt, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to turn this into Joe Dirt, but anyway. In 2004, I figured Ronnie would appreciate that. In 2004,
I got a mic right here. Backup mic over here. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Yeah. Oh yeah. Joe Dirt.
Right. So in 2004, obviously Kurt Warner was playing for the Giants. This was before, like, obviously the Eli Manning thing happened. So remember that because of an unfortunate event in my life. So it was one of those times where my mom had come down and gotten me under false pretenses and taken me up to upstate New York. And where she took me was Ellenburg Depot up near the Plattsburgh area. And
Very familiar with it. Yep.
Okay. So what happened is I got taken up there, and on the way up there, because we drove in a car, on the way up from, I believe it was Georgia all the way up to Plattsburgh area, which is a long ass drive.
I know the feeling.
She told me that I wouldn't be able to watch any Georgia Tech games, so I needed to pick a different team. So at a gas station, I picked up a Virginia Tech hat, which there's a reason why I'm telling you that. Okay. So as we get to Ellenburg Depot, there was one night where I got sick. I don't know what happened, but like I got sick. And so I'm, doing the thing that you do when you're sick, like throwing up, and I'm feeling horrible about it because I'm sick. So I was telling you guys about my stepfather, right? Well, she's still with my stepfather at that point in time. And so he starts making me feel horrible about the fact that I got sick. And so I said out loud, I wish I could just die. That's what I said. Because I was so sick of what was going on, and I was also physically ill as well.
Yeah.
So the next day, I get called down into the kitchen area to come sit at the kitchen table, and in front of me are two hats. There is a camouflage hat, and there is a Virginia Tech hat. And what my mom said to me at the time was, she said, "All right, Elijah," she said, "I got word that your father's trying to come get you. So you got two options. Option A," and she pointed to the camouflage hat. She said, "I call your father right now. I tell him where we are. He comes and gets you. You go to live with him from now on." Or option B, and she pointed at the Virginia Tech hat. She said, "You're going to go to this place that I know of for a couple days, and I will come get you when everything has worked out." Now, one thing I forgot to tell y'all, when she came and got me, one of the first things she would always do is a shopping spree. So I would get brand new clothes, I'd get a brand new backpack, I'd get brand new everything, right? And as I
Right.
told y'all before, my dad was a single dad, so we couldn't afford a lot of that
Right.
shit.
Yeah. So setting
So-
you up so when it comes time to fucking do this shit, yeah, I
Yes.
got you.
So I picked the Virginia Tech hat because I was sick of being the poor kid.
Right.
I picked the Virginia Tech hat. But then we
How,
go to the
how old
hospital.
were you when you picked that hat?
2004, I would have been 11, I want to say, because I was born
Yeah.
in 93. So I picked the Virginia Tech hat. We then go to the hospital. We go in to talk to a doctor or whoever was taking us. I don't know if it was a doctor or not, but we were talking to somebody. And, they're asking me questions. I don't really think anything of it, right? Then my mom says, "Well, Elijah, why don't you go sit outside for a second? I need to talk to them." I'm like, "Okay." So she talks to them. I did not find out until much later that she told them that I said I wish I could die and threw myself in front of oncoming traffic,
Wow.
which is not what happened,
No.
but that's what she told them. So my ass got a extended stay in the psych ward.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
At
like I
11.
said,
As an 11-year-old.
at 11, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I didn't understand like what was going on. And all I knew was my mom said, "I got a place where you can go for a couple days, and I'm gonna come get you when basically the coast is clear." That's what I thought was happening. That's not what was happening. So I got all these people being like, how do you feel today, Elijah? I'm like, "I'm feeling fine. Like I'm doing my homework. There's two-way glass so they can see you, make sure that you're not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing."
Yeah.
You know,
And the
I
reason
don't
why
want to
I'm like-
fucking be here, but besides that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I love life. I've got a free trial on it. I'm thinking I might buy the full membership. I'm just saying. But uh, so again, the reason why I brought up Kurt Warner is because they had a newspaper there, like in the psych ward. So I saw that Kurt Warner was starting for the Giants, and this was before Kurt Warner got benched for Eli Manning.
Yep.
So anyway, my dad comes and gets me, right? He figures out where I am. Him and my grandfather, they come up and they save me from this thing. All right. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, but basically, I didn't really have contact with my mom after that until I got to high school.
Okay.
Now, my dad, we were living in Georgia. He decided he was going to be a pastor, so we moved down to Florida so he can go to college. And then once he got his bachelor's degree, we moved to his first church, which was in Kentucky, so that he could get his master's degree in Cincinnati because you can just take the bridge right over. So,
Jesus, man, you fucking been everywhere.
I know.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but
traveler.
what part of
Yeah.
Florida were you in at that time?
So we were in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and Port Orange, Florida, which I usually just tell people Daytona Beach because it's easier that way.
Yeah.
It's like a suburb of Daytona.
Got you.
Fuck
Um,
that. What
I
part
was-
of Kentucky were you in?
I was just in Florida in the early 2000s. I was in Florida at that time as well. So I was like,
Very cool, very cool. So as far as Kentucky is concerned, I was in Paris, Kentucky, which is like a suburb of Lexington.
How's the chicken?
You're funny. So they had amazing chicken, but they also were very rabid about their basketball, which I did not realize.
oh yes.
But I got a crash. I got a crash course in that. So anyway, so I'm a freshman in high school, right? My dad's the pastor of the local church there, and I'm already feeling kind of pressure because I'm the preacher's kid, which means all of my interactions, whether I want them to or not, are going to reflect on him and his faith, because that's how church is, which is why I don't really go to church anymore. But that was the situation. Like I had a microscope on me.
For sure.
Yeah.
And my aunt thought she was doing a good thing for me. And I don't hold any, any issue with what she did, okay? Because she thought she was doing me a favor. Because she was like best friends with my mom whenever I was born. So she, without my father's knowledge, hands me, gets it to me, my mother's phone number. Because she said, hey, if you want a relationship with your mom, here's a way for you to be able to do that. So what I do, because my dad had told me you don't need to be talking to her, like this is not a good idea, okay? Which hindsight, he was right.
Yeah,
But me being a teenager, I'm like, fuck you, dad, I'm gonna do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. So
for sure.
I wait till I get on the bus and I call my mom.
Yep.
And then by the time I get dropped off, I get off the phone. And I'm using other people's phones because I didn't have a cell phone in order to do that. But here's how those calls would go, gentlemen. So I would call my mother and she would talk to me for like 20 seconds. And then she would put my little sister on the phone. And my little sister would start crying.
Oh,
and she would
yeah.
say,
God.
she would say, why aren't you here to protect me?
Oh,
Apparently,
God, dude.
the same person who sexually assaulted me was doing the same shit to her.
Jesus Christ.
And so I'm in 9th grade. My grades are not doing good because I'm in a school where there's like 40 kids to a classroom. So the teachers, while they want to help every student, they don't really have the time to help every student. So if you're gonna, sink or swim, you got to figure it out, And I don't blame the teachers for that. That's on me. But I'm dealing with this emotional thing every day after school when I'm calling her because it was the same pattern every single time. It would be 30 seconds with her and then guilt from my little sister, which I don't blame her. She was a little kid, you know what I mean? But it was like she was being told what to say,
Yeah.
to prime me.
Yeah.
So I knew I couldn't talk to my dad. I didn't feel like I could talk to my dad because I'm not supposed to be talking to her anyway, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So what I did, and I'm not proud of this, okay? And I would highly recommend no high school kid, if you're ever going through a situation like I went through, do not do this, okay? It doesn't help. But what I did was I convinced myself and told the people that I was around in high school that my mom had died. It's not true. It wasn't true then, but I did that because I needed a way to fucking deal with what I was going through.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It got found out she wasn't dead. It was a big deal. Okay. And I'm embarrassed that I did that. But like I said, the rationale behind it was if I can
You don't
convince
want to
myself.
talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about your mom. I get it. I get that.
So that was the situation that happened when I was in high school. And then about a year later, so after my freshman year, I got pulled out of high school so that I could do the homeschooling thing because my dad was just trying to like save my academic career, and I don't blame him for that. But I ended up getting in a disagreement with him and my stepmother, so I got moved from my house in Paris, Kentucky, down to my pawpaw's house in Atlanta, Georgia. My dad's father, my grandfather. So I got moved down there with them, and the whole idea with that was, Elijah, you're gonna go get your GED, and we're gonna figure out where your life goes from there. That was the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Fresh start.
Well, exactly, fresh start. So I'm down there in Atlanta. I'm kind of doing my thing. I'm still talking to a girl that I was talking to up in Kentucky. And I'm telling her the entire time, hey man, like I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back. We're gonna be together. It's gonna be fine. Like, all this is gonna work out. I find out on like Valentine's Day that because she went to a different school. I only really saw her at church. So I found out she had another dude she was talking to at the school she was at. So I'm like heartbroken. It's like my first real heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, teenage heartbreak is the fucking worst, bro.
Right. So I called my mom, because I had the number. So I called my mom. And at that point, man, like all I wanted to do was just be near my mom. I hope that makes sense. But all I wanted to do in that moment, having that heartbreak, was to just be near her,
Yeah.
because I thought she could help me. And she had told me that, she was sick and that my little brothers and sisters needed somebody to help take care of them and that, all this other stuff, right? So I tell her to come down and get me. So she comes down from Rensselaer Falls, New York to Atlanta to come get me. Okay. And so I don't even get out of Atlanta. Okay, so she gets me from my grandparents. We go to Chick-fil-A because that's what Southern people do.
Absolutely.
So there we go.
Lemonade, all right.
Hey, bro.
So
Number one
we
original
go-
sandwich, mac and cheese, and a lemonade, brother.
There you go. So we go there, right? We're waiting in line to get our Chick-fil-A, and she tells me, just like in passing, like it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, so your brothers and sisters are not living with me right now. They're actually in foster care.
So the whole
And I'm like,
reason
What
for
the
wow,
fuck is this
The
woman,
just
bro?
lying and manipulation.
What
So
the fuck?
we take the drive all the way up to Rensselaer Falls. Okay. We were living at 211 King Street in Rensselaer Falls. So I don't know, Ronnie, is that anywhere near you, my friend?
I don't really want to give out my address.
That's fine,
but,
that's fine. I get it. I get it.
I'm very fucking familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is we, she takes me back up to her house. It's like late at night. Okay. My introduction to Northern New York was hearing the Amish buggy go by. And remember, I was living in Atlanta previously, so I'm like, what the hell is that noise outside? I've never
Yeah.
heard that before. So I'm like, where the hell
in
am
the
I?
summertime,
Right.
I would say my wife and I sit on the porch. So I know a lot of people that probably listen to this podcast already know, but just an odd chance someone doesn't. Up here in Northern New York, every 12 minutes on my street, a horse and fucking buggy goes by. Every 12 minutes. And on Sunday, it's fucking worse.
Yeah, absolutely. They travel for church. They all go
For church,
to,
everybody does. But I'm telling you fucking what, man, we get a fucking 2-horse hay wagon that's about as big as that fucking Baltimore ship. And they're fucking Amish dudes standing on the top of the hay, bro, like 20 feet up with the reins, standing straight up. And they went by one time, and me and my son Drew were outside, and I go, "That's got to be the greatest Amish person I've ever seen." And then I started going, "Oh yeah, man, it's wild. You're right. Just nonstop Amish." Go.
I lived. Sorry, I didn't want to interject anymore, but
Oh, you're good.
Go ahead.
I get it fully because I am right now I'm in a suburb of Philadelphia where I moved here right after high school, but I lived in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is Amish heaven. That's where the Amish Mafia show was shot in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I also lived up there. So when I tell you that what you put up with was nothing compared to my commute back from school.
First of all,
I was caught in a bus behind 5 fucking you don't know how many times I've almost gotten hit by people swerving into the other lane to go around a horse and buggy. A million times.
Please. Everyone in the North Country, listen. Your Amish people got fucking headlights and taillights and signal lights and doors.
They have to.
We have the Amish that have the little fucking oil lantern that's burning the whale blubber from fucking Moby Dick, and you can't see it till you come up on them.
Right.
Just saying. So I don't want to hear it from the fucking suburb boy.
We also had a lot of streetlights, so it wasn't that hard at night either.
Yo, why you gotta rub in streetlights too, man?
Why do I have to rub in streetlights?
What the fuck?
Here in the North Country, we are balling on a budget. We can't afford street lights every 3.
When we get a
poles.
street light, it's the one street light that only flashes red because the stop sign didn't quite do it for Kyle the other weekend. Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So we move up here, right? Like she brings me up here, and this was in 2011. Okay, I had to look the date up on this actually before the show because I wanted to make sure I'm being factual on everything I'm saying. But we come up here in 2011, and she had a house on King Street in Rensselaer Falls, 211 King Street, and she had one rule. She had one rule in this house. Okay, so it was her living in it. There was her living in it, her husband living in it, which was a different person than my stepfather, just to be clear. And her husband's friend was living there as well. But she had one rule. She said, Elijah, you can go wherever you want to go, but you do not go in the garage. You can go wherever you want to go, but you don't go in the garage. And I'm thinking,
can I interject?
Go ahead.
I think I know
ahead.
where this is going because I've lived here since 2004. So I think I know
Yeah.
where this is going. Go ahead. It's a big day in
So-
Rensselaer Falls.
What a weird thing to interject, saying that
so-
you know what he's about
Just
to
wanted
say.
to say, you know what's wild though, man? You're telling this story, and like I'm really feeling for you, and you fucking lived in my fucking town,
Right.
not too fucking far away, and I was here. Like that's fucking weird, and like now, like
well,
we,
like you
we know
said,
each other.
everybody's connected by 5 people.
Mhm.
You said
That-
that earlier, and that's true. That's
Es-
true. That's true.
especially in Rensselaer Falls, New York. Especially in
Listen,
Rensselaer Falls.
First of all, I'm not a Rensselaire Falls native. I'm from DeKalb fucking Junction,
Which is even
alright?
smaller,
right.
right?
And I'm from the wrong side of the tracks, boy.
Okay. All right.
The
So-
literal tracks. Okay, go ahead.
So she tells me that you can go wherever you want to go, but do not go in the garage, right? So I'm thinking, all right, fine. Now I will tell you that in the house, it was the first time I ever saw hard drugs. I was coming from a Christian background, so like I was like dare lion proud, okay.
Dare
So
lion
I-
proud.
when I saw what was going on, okay, when I saw what was going on, I didn't really understand what was going on. But in the house, they would be shooting up heroin.
Mm.
And so, like I said, in the house, they're shooting up heroin. I don't know what's going on in the garage. And I remember it was a day in April, okay? I'm at the Rensselaer Falls Library because I'm trying to meet people, all right? I'm like, I don't know anybody up here. I'm trying to meet people. And my mother's husband's friend comes up to the library and says, Elijah, we got to go back to the house. They think we have a meth lab. And I say, because I am a Christian man, I say, a math lab? What?
A math lab.
Because I didn't know what the fuck he was. I've never heard that
Yeah.
word before.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Yeah.
understand. So we go back over there, right? And John Fryatt is out in front of my house with his camera doing a live report about this thing. And again, I'm from Atlanta, so if the news is at your house, that's
Everybody,
a big
Don
That's a
Fryatt
big
here
deal.
with 7 News. We seem
Right.
to have a meth lab here. I was just eating at Directs, the next town over, so I figured I'd come here as fast as I could, because this kind of shit doesn't happen here, eh? Fucking yeah,
right.
yeah.
So-
First time
so
to
my
see
mom-
John Fryatt.
So my mom tells me, okay, go in the house, get yourself a bag, come back out. Mom, what's going on? Like, are we gonna be okay? She's like, everything is fine. Which, spoiler alert, everything was not fine.
Spoiler
Whoa.
alert, fucking not fine, Mom.
Really?
So I go in.
What am I
I'm grabbing-
grabbing a bag of, Mom?
Right. Yeah. No, I know. So I'm grabbing like my football stuff because I was trying to play semi-professional football at the time. So I'm grabbing my football stuff. I'm grabbing whatever I think is important. I'm putting it in my gym bag. Right. On the way out, the sheriff's department's like, we got to take a look at that. So I'm like, all right, dude, like take a look. So they look and they're like, oh, he's fine. They send me out.
Just some sweaty
And I
pants.
can't remember, but I'm pretty sure the sheriff's department is the one that paid for our hotel that night. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But we ended up staying at the Best Western Canton. So we're over there, right? Next day comes. I'm playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, because why wouldn't you?
Hell yeah.
On my laptop.
Hell yeah.
Thank
hell
you.
yeah.
I appreciate it. Everybody else talks about Call of Duty, but I'm like holding it down for Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Fuck yeah,
But
dude.
anyway,
I don't even know
I'm
what
on
that
my
is.
laptop, and we get a knock at the door. And the sheriff was like, all right, so we need, and he lists off the names. So my mother's husband, my mother's husband's friend go out in the hallway, and they all get arrested right there in front of me. And I'm still playing Roller Coaster Tycoon at the time, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? So later on that night,
Do I have
they
to
run
pause?
the story.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So later on that night, they run the story, and my mother is arrested for running a meth lab in Rensselaer Falls.
Yep.
Now, I ended up going to live with my mother's mom. Now, quick thing here. All that trauma I talked about before, about all those medications I was on and everything else. My mother's mom saw all that shit, never said nothing.
Hmm.
Just went along with it, okay? So me and her weren't exactly on good terms anyway.
Well, you had
She
to
was
go
living in the
somewhere.
high rise. She was living in the high rise in Canton. So by having me, she had to move somewhere else.
Oh.
So we ended up living together, and my mother's husband at the time, he gets out of jail, he gets his shit, he goes back to Connecticut. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. My mother's husband's friend decides to stay in the North Country and live with me and my Meemaw. That's what I called her. And I gotta say, that man was like the buffer between me and her. And I will always appreciate him for being the buffer because she didn't want me around. And he was just like, dude, you just got to do what you got to do to get through. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting my GED before I turned 18, which I was very proud of. So I got my GED. And at the time, obviously, I was doing what most North Country kids do. I was going to BOCES. Okay.
Yeah.
So while I'm at BOCES, they have you pick like what class you want to go to. So
Right.
I picked CNA. In the CNA class, I was the only dude.
Yeah.
It was me and like 29 women, okay? Which,
Yep.
if I had really thought about that, I might have taken more advantage of that situation.
For
But I was
sure.
just like, I just wanted to, do my schooling. Like, I was all about academics
Focus
at that
on
point.
school. I
Right,
gotcha.
right. So I'm doing that, and then I'm doing my GED class. When I wrap my GED class up, okay, I then pick another elective to fill my time. So I picked culinary arts because there was a girl in culinary arts that I wanted to hang out with, so I thought that would be cool. Again, I'm living with my Mima on Cornell Street in Messina at the time.
Okay.
And when her and I would like get into it, I would like go down to the footbridge area, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but there's an old footbridge in Messina.
Oh yeah.
And I would go down there to just like reset. I would go down there to just say, okay, Elijah, there's a plan for your life. You don't really know what that is, but there is a plan for your life. Everything's going to be okay, but you got to settle down. And so I'd go to the footbridge area to just kind of listen to the water, enjoy nature for a little bit, and then I would go back home.
And you were 17 at this time?
I was like 17 turning 18.
That's
And I
really like
remember this.
that's a bright thing too. Like that's a smart thing to do, is to go and
It is.
find a
yeah.
place where you can decompress and
Just
really
quiet your mind.
the fact
and
that
just-
the fact that you had the support from that your mom's husband's friend or what that guy to like keep you in that loop of like, hey, like you just got to get through it, like take it a day at a time or whatever. Like it's really good that you had the mental capacity to go and understand that you can get through this. And like a lot of people going through all of that trauma wouldn't be that strong. I know
No.
for sure I probably wouldn't have been nearly as strong.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily righteous, but that's an awesome thing that you were
It
able
is
to
really. Yeah. It is.
to do that and take in that.
I appreciate that, fellas. I appreciate that. So, moving the story along here. So, my 18th birthday, she gives me an eviction notice. She's like, all right, you're out. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how we're doing this? All right. So, at that time, me and the girl that I was going to culinary arts, for, because I suck at cooking, but the girl I was going
Me
to
too.
culinary arts for to try to be around, me and her kind of had a falling out. All right. So at that point, I'm thinking, you know what? I don't need to go to BOCES. Like, I already got my GED. I'm just going to go work full time. I'm just going to go into the workforce. I'm just going to go work full time. So I text my friend who is in the CNA class. I sent her 2 text messages. All right. This is very important. I sent her 2 text messages. The first text message said, please tell everybody I said goodbye. And the second text message said, I'm going to go get a full-time job here in Messina. Because of where my room was on Cornell Street, the first text message sent, the second one did not.
Oh man.
So she is freaking out, okay? Because I had turned my phone off. All right, I had sent the 2 things and then I turned my phone off because, like, I back then I didn't have my phone on all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm just living my life thinking everything's fine. She's freaking out thinking I'm going to hurt myself. And she's telling the school, she's telling everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, oh God, whenever I turn my phone back on, I'm seeing all these messages and missed calls from her, right?
And you're like, oh
So I call the school. I try to get in touch with the guidance counselor. They don't answer. I'm like, of course they don't answer. I'm trying to call her and like clarify what's going on, right? And she's like writing me back like, I'm so glad you're okay, da 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 da. Well, when my Mima comes home, she sits me down. And she's like, you freaked a lot of people out today. You know that, right? And I'm like, yeah, like, I didn't mean to. Okay.
Yeah,
So
right.
I go up to my room. I turn on my laptop. I'm going to watch some football because that's what I do. All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
I then hear her go, Elijah, come downstairs. I turn the corner, and it's like a situation where there's like the second floor, but you have the long staircase down.
Yeah, like
So
the
I turn the
landing.
corner. Yeah. I turn the corner, and there's two Messina PD officers at the bottom of the stairs with my Meemaw.
Oh boy.
I'm like, what's going on? They said you need to come down here. I'm like, all right. So as I'm coming down, because one of them came up to like stand behind me, I guess. I don't know. But as I'm coming down, my Meemaw was somebody who was crafty. Okay. So she had all her crafts shit on the wall of this like staircase thing. She's pointing out to them the shit on the wall and asking them what they think about it and seeing if they want to buy any of it off the wall.
Wow.
What the
So-
fuck?
As they're there to do
Right,
a
so
wellness
I'm
check
like,
on you
what-
because
what the
people think
hell's
you're getting
going on?
Slager, so.
So
Wow.
they take me to Messina Hospital, okay? And I'm telling the officer on the way over there, if you just let me show you my cell phone, I can show you what happened. You know, kind of like Tim Allen and Galaxy Quest. This was all just a big misunderstanding. So I'm just trying to tell them that. I show them my phone, and they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, we see what's going on, but you got to tell them. You got to tell them. And I'm like, believe me, I will. So lady comes in. I tell her what's going on. She looks me in the face at Messina Hospital and goes, I don't fucking believe you. You're going to Ogdensburg.
It's right there.
Right. And I'm like, it's right here. And they're like, no, you're going to Ogdensburg. So they put me in an ambulance. They take me to Ogdensburg. When I get to Ogdensburg, the first thing out of my mouth was like, let me tell you something, right? Like the TikTok audio. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. So
Let me tell you something.
I'm trying to show them the text messages, right? And this is how I get through it is like making it sound funny, you know?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
they decide they're gonna put, you know, they're like, okay, we see what you're saying. We're gonna see what we can do for you. Till we do, you need to sit in this waiting room, and we're gonna have somebody sitting with you. Okay. To this day, I don't know this gentleman's name, and I know this gentleman was just trying to do the right thing. Okay.
Okay.
But he sits down next to me, and he goes, "I hear you're having a tough time. I want to help you find your reason to live." Like, already found it. Thank you. This is all just a misunderstanding. I should be out of here hopefully semi soon. He's like, no, you know, we all go through it sometimes, and I just want to be here to help you. I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate it. Appreciate the company. He said, here's what we're gonna do. I have a show that I play for everybody, and I'm gonna play it for you, Elijah, and I think it'll help you. And I'm like, all right, well, you sure you can put something on TV if you want, but I'm scared shitless at the time. I'm just trying to think, how the fuck do I get out of here?
Right.
Right.
He puts on
Captain
The Office.
Kangaroo. Oh, okay.
The Office?
He puts on The Office. And I had never seen The Office before.
Okay.
So it's just playing The Office episodes, like 4 of them, while they're all trying to figure this situation out. And it is the reason why, even though I laugh at some of the clips of The Office, I can never like watch the show
Right.
because it reminds me of that moment.
Yeah.
And like I
Right,
said, the guy was just trying to do a nice thing. You know, I don't know how much he knew about the situation because I don't remember what I told him. But they come back to me and they say, all right, here's the deal. We can let you go if you can find somebody you can go to. Now, at that point in time, my dad wasn't really in the picture.
Right.
My meanwhile can't go back there. My mom had gotten out of jail and she was living in Governor with some friends. So I call her and she says, all right, I'll be on my way to come get you. So to her credit, she got me out of that room in Ogdensburg that night. So I go to live with her in Governor, and there's like a trailer park that's like right before, I want to say like the Moose Lodge down there. I can't really remember exactly like
Lodge.
geography wise. Yeah. But
Elks
there's also
Lodge.
like
Or
deer
fish fry on Fridays.
Yeah. So we go to live in this trailer with a couple of her friends that she's found, okay, in Governor. And one thing I noticed right off the bat is that she would never let me talk to the person who owned the trailer. Like, she would not let me talk to them alone. She would only let me talk to them if we were in a group setting. And so one night, they decided to go out and get Subway. And they decided to take me with them to go get Subway. And I'm hearing them talk about, you know, their plan, the plan that they have for the next couple months. And a part of that plan, apparently, was for my mother to contact her husband, who she had in Runcer Falls, and that he was going to buy them a house, and all they needed to do was write a check. I knew this was bullshit because she wasn't talking to her husband, because her husband wasn't talking to anybody from that situation. He went back to Connecticut and said, essentially, fuck all y'all, okay? So I knew that wasn't true. The check thing, I didn't really understand the gravity of that, but I told the truth. I told them what was going on. I said, listen, I don't know what she told you. I said, but like, I haven't talked to that guy in a long time. You know, he wants nothing to do with her. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Like, they're asking me all these questions. Apparently, she had made up this story that they were in contact.
Wow.
Wasn't true. And so the lady who owned the trailer, I guess I had done this right before she was going to write that check. But she decided to go to the New York State Police in Governor and have me say what was going on. And then, of course, because of that, my mother gets arrested on Christmas Eve of 2011.
Wow.
And then everybody scatters. Okay, everybody that was living in the trailer scatters. And I ain't got no place to go. Like, I did the right thing, but I got no place to go.
Yeah, now you're
right
homeless pretty much.
Yeah. So that's when I begin couch surfing, which is a big thing that I do talk about on my radio show and things like that, just so people understand that, you know, it's not always this big negative thing why somebody is homeless. You know, it's not always
their fault.
You know, what you think it might be,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
So anyway, so one of the people in that situation gives me a place to live for a couple days. And this is where Ronnie Vegas comes into the picture, folks. So one of the activities that this person was going to anyway, and they took me to, was a tirade concert. And I tell you what, and I'm not just saying this because Ronnie's on here, I needed that. I needed to go to a show and forget about the shit I was dealing with for a little bit. And I will never forget that show because it was Tirade hosting. Chaotic Embrace was opening up for them. I believe it was at the Elks Lodge. I can't remember if it's Elks or Moose Lodge there.
At the Governor place, yeah.
Yeah.
Elks Lodge.
So I didn't talk to Ronnie that night, okay? But I saw the show. And I was inspired by the creativity and the fact that, hey, they're doing this in this area. This is really cool. So that really helped me. You know, that really helped me. But I ended up staying with a bunch of different folks. Basically, kind of all of 2012 was me kind of couch surfing. And then I finally was able to, you know, kind of solidify myself. I got my first apartment. I thought things were going to work out with that. They unfortunately didn't. But one of the things that happened in 2012 was I got a job working at FYE in the mall in Messina. And I met somebody who I consider a brother. His name is Patrick Burnett. And Patrick and I, when we were supposed to be working, we'd be sitting there like drawing, like he draws. So he would be drawing sketches of the different characters that I wanted to make movies of. And so I told him, yeah, I want to make this Batman fan film. I think it would be really cool, you know, because I want to continue the story that was in Batman Forever as if the other movies never happened and what happened to the Riddler after he said, I'm Batman, like what would happen to him 18 years later. And so we start talking about that, about how we want to make movies in the area, how we want to, you know, help provide jobs and things like that. And so that was one of the good things that happened in that situation. But as I said before, I ended up losing my apartment. And I needed somewhere to go. And again, my mother had gotten out of jail. She was living in a place on Parker Avenue in Messina, so I go to live with her. And that's why I was saying before, it's very complicated because, like, on the one hand, she didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? She didn't have to do that. I don't ever feel like I'm entitled to anything. But she didn't have to do that. She kept doing that. So that's why I'm saying somewhere in her, I know she loves me, but it's just like the way she shows that is like really fucked up.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're living in, and this was crazy, fellas. So we're living in an apartment on Parker Avenue, but it's not really an apartment. It is like the upper, like, essentially like where you store all your shit. It's like the attic, okay?
Like they turned that into a livable space.
Right. So we're living there, okay? And I'm at the time, I'm like, you know, writing songs and things like that because that was something I was very passionate about, was writing songs and singing and stuff like that. So I'm writing songs, I'm living with my mom, and one of the things that I was not prepared for was living with my mom as well was my stepfather's son who sexually assaulted me.
Oh,
Oh.
fuck's sake.
So while I'm going to sleep at night, laying not that far away from me is this person who had done horrible shit to me and horrible shit to my little sister.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing I can do about it because I got to have a place to live, right?
Right.
So while I'm living there with my mother, I decide I'm gonna do this Batman fan film for YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna do this. And I remember in the process of doing that with a bunch of friends I had met from the North Country, a lot of great people, my mother comes to me one night and she says, Elijah, I think I know what would help you with your creativity. And I'm like, oh, what's that, Mom? And she goes, I think you need to start doing heroin.
What
Your
the
mother, how old were you? 19,
fuck?
18, 19?
So 2013 minus 1993. I don't know what that is.
20 years.
Yeah. So she says that to me and she's like, if you want to do it, she's like, all the great artists did it. Kurt Cobain, all these
Wow.
people, like you would, your
First
art
of
would just
all,
fly open.
Kurt
Yeah,
Cobain
no,
wrote music well before he was on heroin, and heroin
Right.
fucking killed Kurt Cobain.
Right. So like I said, this is what she's saying to me though. Okay. I don't believe any of this, but this is what she's saying to me. So she says that to me and she's like, if you want to try it, I will get you some because I want to make sure that you get a good batch.
Oh my God.
And at that point, I made a decision. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Good decision.
So I leave and I go and I stay with a friend of mine who was also making the Batman fan film with me. And then I stay with another person who was making the Batman fan film with me. And in the process of doing that, I met the woman who is now my wife, Cassandra.
Congratulations.
And
Congratulations.
it was like a really good thing for me. It was a really good thing for me to meet her. Obviously, my life has been enriched ever since I met her. But we got together. And at that point, I didn't excommunicate my mom out of my life after the heroin thing. I just got the fuck out of there, right? Because at that point, my Christian background kind of came into play. And I'm like, I can save her. I can fix her. When in reality, something that I say a lot nowadays, you can't want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't help someone who doesn't want help.
themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And that was one of the hardest lessons. And to be honest, that's still a lesson I'm trying to learn to this day because I am somebody who will give people 89 million chances and then say, okay, they just need this one more chance.
Yeah.
So she kind of re-enters my life. We're talking. I tell her about Cassandra and I make the decision in my head. I'm not going to tell Cassandra about my past. I'm not going to tell Cassandra about my mother's past because I want Cassandra to have her own opinion of my mother because I believe she's changed.
Okay.
What ended up happening with that, just to kind of fast forward here, fellas, was my mother kind of got really close with my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time. She was my girlfriend turned fiance, but she got really close with her. And then she wrote bad checks on my wife's account.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's why she got fucking close to her. Just habitual fucking using and brainwashing of people. That's
wild.
Man.
There's obviously
Sorry, Cassandra.
There's obviously some very high mental instability.
Very deep-seated fucking
Yeah. So after that happened, okay, Cassandra came to me and she said, listen, I love you. We can still be together, but we cannot associate with her. I can't associate with her. And so I made the choice at that point in time to write my mother a letter because she was out of town. I wrote my mother a letter and I just said, I cannot. Like, I love you, but I cannot. For what I'm trying to do in my life, where I'm trying to go, I cannot have this relationship. And it was really hard for me to do that.
I'm sure
it's
it
your
was,
mom.
man.
But I'm glad
that's your mom. Like, I mean, I've had to not write them a letter, but when you cut people off like that, it's hard enough just being close to them. You know what I mean? But being your fucking mom, even though
she
looking
did a whole
at it
bunch of
now
awful
and
things.
everyone listening is probably like, fuck that, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's hard. It's hard. If you're not in that situation, you can't grasp how hard that actually is. Good for you for fucking
Yeah, that
making
takes
the
that
decision.
takes
And
immense amount of
congratulations.
strength. It takes immense amount of strength.
So we leave that situation, right? I choose to go with Cassandra. We end up staying with some of her friends who lived on Woodlawn Avenue in Messina. Now they didn't really have a space for us to go, so we slept on the floor. I did a lot of that. I did a lot of that from 2012 to 2013. Either sleeping on somebody's couch or just straight up sleeping on the floor. So we're sleeping on the floor, right? And we ended up kind of getting out of that situation. And like I said to y'all before, I had made my Batman fan film. And so after making that Batman fan film, which you can find on my YouTube channel, it's not like groundbreaking, but it was the start. It was the start of what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy DeJoy again. This was just the wrap up of the first episode. I had to cut it right here because Elijah really goes into the stuff that we're going to discuss in the second episode starting now. A big thanks to Elijah for coming on, of course. Thank you for watching if you made it this long. Like I said, the next episode is a little more lighthearted, and we talk about the Ballad of Billy Badass and his upcoming films and his radio show and his podcast and stuff like that. Just wanted to give Elijah a quick shout out before we head out here. Thank you for coming on, Elijah. If you want to follow him on social media, it's all Elijah Winfrey Studios. It's all his beautiful dog is his logo, so I'm sure you won't have any problem finding that. Slinky Dog is the dog's name. It's got a little crown on, and he's eating some popcorn. So if you want to check that out, all of the links for him will be in the description below. And we hope you stick around and watch the next episode next week, because Elijah has a lot more to talk about with his career and everything along those lines. If you made it this far, throw us a subscription, throw us a like or something. Don't want to sell out too hard. Just check us out next week. Talk to you later. Talk to you then.